Locker room at TCF Bank Stadium. Welcome to another edition of Sunday Night Overtime with Coach Claeys, brought to you by the Minnesota Lottery. Alongside the head coach, Tracy Claeys, I'm Justin Gaard from KFAN Radio and the Gopher Radio Network. And for a third straight week, Coach, we're talking about a victory, a road victory in this case, 40-17 against Illinois yesterday in Champaign. Before we dive into specifics, what were your general thoughts about the ballgame?
Anytime, again, you go on the road and win in the conference, and I think it's a good win, and I told the kids after we lost the game at home to Iowa, you lose a home game in the conference, is you got to find two on the road to make up for that one home loss. And so we played well, and defensively we continue to limit scoring opportunities for the other team, and offensively in the red zone we continue to score points. And so it's a good win to keep us on pace, and now we look forward to playing in November.
I've talked to you two separate times over your career here when you guys have picked up a sixth victory. Once was at Illinois in your second year here when it was a milestone there. Once was when you beat Nebraska here, and it was kind of under the radar because you had just beaten Nebraska for the first time. Didn't bring it up yesterday because I kind of thought I knew what your answer was going to be, and then you were asked about it in the press conference. But you became bowl eligible yesterday, and I know you have bigger goals than that, but that also has to mean something in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, it does. The consistency to be able to get to bowls is important. You like that, but at the same time, like I said yesterday, is that the goals that we have as a team and where we'd like to go is you're going to be bowl eligible if you get those goals accomplished. And so those are the ones right now, while those goals are still within our control, that we're going to shoot for, and then see what happens from there as far as the bowls play out.
A reminder to get your Facebook questions in. We'll be able to handle a couple of those after Sights and Sounds. And the Gophers are going bowling this year. We do know that. It's the second time in program history where they will go to 5 consecutive bowls. So a good streak there. Something else you have going on, Coach, that's pretty good is your turnover margin and your points off turnovers. Huge point of the game yesterday where if you want to count the safety, we're talking 18, 19 points that you guys got off turnovers.
Yeah, no question. And that's something that we've struggled with here the last couple of years, and right now, like I say, I think all our time we spent in the red zone, just going against each other live, is really starting to show and pay off. Now I think that's where you teach ball security and making sure down the red zone you don't turn it over, you don't get sacked. On offense, you got to be able to run the ball, and then defensively try to hold them to field goals, and so all that time in practice, I think it's paying off, and offensively, it's always good when you get to the red zone and you're going to get some types of points, and for the most part, it has been touchdowns.
Typically, when you get to the red zone, you need to be able to throw the ball a little bit. At least that's the theory. But you guys are having great success running the ball down there. What do you attribute that to?
Well, one thing is we're spreading it out a lot more, though, too. One of Mitch's touchdowns yesterday was on the read option, and we spread it out and one back and did a little bit of motion. Sometimes you clog all those big guys up inside, and it's like playing in a phone booth, and if you can't move somebody, nobody's going anywhere. And so I think, again, the more running game that we're doing out 11 personnel and spreading the field has really helped us down there in the red zone.
Has it also helped just generally in the run game? I asked you this post-game yesterday, but every defensive coach that looks at the Gophers is going to try to stop the two running backs. They understand that's your strength. You've been saying, hey, they're our best players, we want to get them the ball, but yet most of them haven't been able to do it. What do you attribute that success to?
I think one is now we've started putting them both on the field at the same time, and you don't know where they're going to line up and what they're going to do. And then number two, again, is the one back. I mean, you can do a lot of things to two back sets to stop the run, but when you go to one back stuff, you pretty much have to show your hand of what you're doing when you spread the field horizontally, and so it's let Mitch make some good checks. It's you don't have to block as many people, and so I credit a lot of our improvement on offense to our one-back running game that we hadn't done here in the past.
Facebook questions coming up in a second, but let's get to our first of a couple Twitter questions here. This is Rilo, or I'll let you guess the name, Coach. I'm not sure, but he wants to know about your unsung hero from yesterday's victory. When you put up 40 and you hold them to 17, I'm sure there's a lot of people that you'd like to thank, so to speak.
There really is, and then we played pretty consistent, and each Sunday after we grade the film, we sit around and want everybody to hear about each position, and we talk about things. But you know, the one that I think Merrick Jackson did some good things on defense. He, the safety he was a part of in the end zone and made a couple plays, and so hopefully he's turned the corner now and can be productive for us as you go to the end of the year. Those big guys, the fresher legs you can keep in the game, the more pressure you're going to be able to put on the quarterback and play well against the running game. So he would be the first on defense. And on offense, I thought Colton Beebe probably played his best game and is blocking, and he was responsible for quite a few of those yards yesterday and on the touchdown run. So those two kids had their best game, and hopefully they can continue.
When you spoke about Merrick in the postgame, you talked about practicing well, carrying over into games. We've said that a lot. You've told us that a lot. Like you said, is the light going on? Is he being more consistent during the week?
Right. He had his best week of practice, and so he got a few more plays in there. But so I don't believe in gamers, and I tell the kids that all the time, is that I need to see you making those plays and being consistent in practice, and when you do that, then that'll lead to your opportunities on game day.
We are over halfway through the Big Ten schedule, which is where our next Twitter question wants to go. With 5 games, we have 4 left. Graft us. Do you like the 9-game Big Ten schedule? How has it changed the approach to the season, as well as the conference standings with all the different crossovers?
Well, the one thing that it's done a couple things. One is, for when it kicked in, and what it's done is put our bye week up really early, and I don't like that. I'd rather our bye week be more close in the middle. The second thing I don't like is every other year is that you're going to play 5 road games. Just so happens that's the West this year, and that's why I think the winner who wins the West is going to have 2 losses, because we all play an extra road game in the conference, and so that's my reasoning for that. And so I'm not a big fan of that. Next year, obviously, we'll feel better about it because we get the 5 home games, But because of that imbalance, I would like to see us, if we do anything, go to 10 games and go to 2 non-conference games and make the 5 and 5 equal. And I think you get a better product. More fans would probably rather see another conference game than some of the non-conference games that we play. And so, I look forward to that. Eventually, hopefully, we'll get to 10 games, and it's less money. You don't have to buy another team to come in. That's getting expensive now. Some of the prices people are paying to bring a team in is really ridiculous, and so I think we can save money and increase the fan interest by playing the 10th game.
Thanks to everybody who submitted Twitter questions earlier in the day. We do that each and every Sunday. We're going to get to some Facebook questions here after the break. But if you weren't with us in Champaign yesterday for a 40-17 Gopher victory, you missed quite a bit. We get you caught up here with Sights and Sounds.
Let's get that tempo up. You do that, you will be victorious. It's up to us. All right? Way to get out there and trust the speed, baby!
Great job coming out second half. Setting the tempo, getting in charge, getting the lead. Defense, hell of a job. The best thing is we got to November and we're contenders, baby.
It's been some good moments in that Champaign locker room over the years. Yesterday was no exception. You've talked about it all year, really going back to spring ball. You get to the month of November, you want to have a chance, and that's what you felt like you've done.
Yeah, as I do. I think we're to the point as a football program and the consistency, like I say, not just getting the bowl eligible, but every year when you get to November, you'd like to be in the talk, having a chance to go to the Big Ten championship game in Indianapolis. And right now with where we're at and the people we have left to play is if we control our own destiny on that, but you still got to show up each week and play your best, and if we're able to knock those off, and as long as we keep winning, we kind of control our own destiny. And still the kids is that in the month of September you're trying to figure out who you are. October you got to win in order to be able to be a contender in November, and so our kids have done a good job at obviously we got more work to do.
Let's get to the Facebook questions. They came in during our first segment, and our first question is from Steve, wondering how you keep the same offensive tempo going into the next game. Opportunistic was the offense in the first half, a little bit more sustained in the second half. How do you carry it over?
We just keep practicing and the fundamentals, and I'll tell you, Coach Johnson, his scripts and in practice, he's very detailed, no different than he is in preparing the quarterbacks, and so we just stay in that routine, and if you keep doing the same things over and over, naturally you got to get better at them. We have a few wrinkles we put in. We did a little bit more jet motion this last week. That was something that we thought would give them a little bit of a problem, and so I think that helped us a little bit, but I think this late in the season, you don't want to practice too much because you're going to wear kids out, but you have to practice enough and offensively, and so whatever Coach Johnson, thinks we need to get done this week, we'll make sure we build that into the practice schedule.
We talked about the lack of turnovers for the offense, which is a positive, but something I think only in fairness we bring up that there were no procedural penalties yesterday offensively, unless I'm missing one. You had a holding here and there, but the pre-snap snuff that had been coming up every once in a while. On the road, you guys have been pretty good without that.
Yeah, we did really good on the pre-snap penalties, and it was challenging yesterday with the wind. It was kind of going diagonally across the field, and I don't know that it was helping either side. If there's you throw a certain way and it'd turn them into knuckleballs, and so the wind was tough, and so with all the different conditions, I felt like, offensively we were taking care of the ball, and as long as you take care of the ball, there's no sin to punting, and defensively we're playing up with field position, but we get in the red zone, we're getting points, and defensively we can. We're still creating turnovers, and we only got 2 sacks yesterday, but you go back and count the hits on the quarterback.
He took a few.
He took a few, and so we continue to develop there also.
Let's go to Bobby for our next Facebook question. Wants to know about, Purdue. Everybody knows the season they've had so far. They had a coaching change in the middle of the season here, and everybody knows also what comes up later in November, so it's the inevitable. How do you make sure your kids aren't looking past, so to speak? You'd like to think they would never look past anybody, but we also know that they're kids.
Right, and you talk about it, and you bring up examples each week of teams that, hey, really do control their own destiny, and they play somebody and they're a big favorite and they don't win. Yesterday Baylor was a great example. As Baylor sitting there undefeated and to go and play Texas, who hasn't been playing really well, and Baylor ends up losing the game, and all of a sudden they don't control what happens to them anymore. So you talk about it as much as you can, and then our kids, we talk about having respect for our opponent, and that's what I'll bring up on Tuesday is you have to have enough respect for your opponent each week that you prepare for them, and then on game day is that you play your best. So we'll talk an awful lot about having respect for our opponent all week.
The other thing I've heard you say along those lines a lot is we do all of this all year, the early morning weights, the running, the workouts. You get to play 12 or, if you're lucky, 13 Saturdays. So you better make sure you're ready to go for all of those because you're not guaranteed every single opportunity.
That's exactly right. And there's a commitment to everybody in that room. And for you to not play your best, it's unacceptable. You have to be a great teammate. That's from coaches to players to doctors, everybody in there. We all have a job to do on game day to help the program be successful. And to not give your best on game day is unacceptable. And so, kids, our seniors done a great job in keeping people focused, and that's the one thing that we'll keep preaching. But you need to have fun, and I don't know how you can't have fun and play your best. Like you say, we only get 12 opportunities.
Next Facebook questions comes from another Steve. Wants to talk about the passing offense, how improving it. Specifically, you mentioned some of the wind yesterday that had some things going. When you needed a couple of throws yesterday, you got them, but it was definitely a run-dominated game. Yeah,
and there was a couple balls there we could have caught. Waz made a great catch, but there's a couple others out, 2 or 3 out on the perimeter that we could have caught and kept the thing sustained. And then again, we got up with the lead, and from there wasn't much sense in messing around with it. Again, sack fumbles, things like that change momentum, and we were able to run the ball. So I agree, we're going to have to catch the ball better out on the perimeter here. And we did for the first few games really well, and we haven't the last couple, but that'll take some of the pressure off. Mitch is going down the stretch, is going to carry the ball more, and then you have the 2 backs carrying the ball, and that's hard to prepare for. And if we can get couple guys out on the edge catch the ball consistently besides Drew, is that now we're going to make you defend the whole width of the field, and we get to that, then we'll continue to improve on offense.
Our final Facebook question tonight is our Minnesota Lottery Facebook question of the week. Nathan will win a Minnesota Lottery prize pack. Congratulations to Nathan. Thoughts on how the freshman class continues to improve? It seems like Winfield and Barber and Tyler Johnson and the linebackers you have continue to make plays each week.
They do. It's one of those things where we're preparing, like I say, and we got a lot of things to do to finish out this season, and we got some pretty high goals. And at the same time, when you sit and you watch the film on Sundays, you're sitting there and seeing all these freshmen, or Colton Beebe's a redshirt freshman, and you're seeing kids make those plays. Tyler Johnson, and it bodes well for our future also. But they continue to get better each week. Some of that again goes to the seniors. I know that Demarius Travis spends an awful lot of time with those young kids in the secondary, and Jack Lynn, them make sure, and Nick Rawlis, those younger linebackers are prepared to go each week. So it's a team commitment. They're helping us an awful lot on special teams, which is helping those guys not have to take so many snaps in a game. So yeah, the freshmen played a big role in what we're doing, and I think it speaks well for us to be able to keep being a consistent program.
Thanks to everybody that submitted Facebook questions. We try to get to as many of those as we possibly can. So if your question was not answered, don't forget, Coach Claeys does double overtime after the show. That will be available tomorrow at gophersports.com. Let's wrap it up with a look ahead. We mentioned a little bit about Purdue. They're your opponent coming in here next Saturday, 2:30 here at TCF Bank Stadium. They make a coaching change a couple of weeks ago. Seems like if the results haven't been there on the field since then, there is a different energy, at least in the games that I've seen them play since then.
Yeah, they moved the ball. There's not a pass that they don't like. You're going to see screens, everything, and then a lot of draw plays. And so, when it happens in the secondary now, we're going to have to be focused in, and we're going to have to tackle well. Is that because they're going to spread it around and launch it out there, and so up front we're going to have to be able to get pressure on the quarterback so he can't hold as long and get the ball out. And then offensively we just need to keep scoring points and get the ball in the red zone. And if we can stay in those low 30s, we feel like we're good enough on defense to win some ball games.
Do you get an extra cup of coffee or extra time with the paper with a 2:30 start? We've had this run of 11 o'clock games, and now all of a sudden we've got a 2:30. I don't know how to handle it.
Yeah. We'll have to probably practice that one morning also.
Appreciate the time. Congrats on the win. We'll see you next Sunday.
Appreciate it.
That's the head coach, Tracy Claeys. From all of us here at Sunday Night Overtime with Coach Claeys, we thank you for watching. Don't forget, 2:30 kick next Saturday against Purdue. Thanks again to the Minnesota Lottery, and thanks to everybody for your questions. We'll talk to you next Sunday at 7 o'clock.